Hello and welcome to Two Therapists and a Microphone. I am Dr. Harrison Davis.
And I'm Dr. Aishia Dickerson.
Two Therapists and a Microphone is a show about mental health, relationships, and social issues that personally affect you. And we broadcast live every Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. Tonight we're going at 7 on the Our Black Media Network.
For those of you who don't know, Harrison and I are two licensed psychotherapists with decades of clinical experience, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear about the situations or dilemmas that you're going through. You can send us your questions by visiting our webpage, www.twotherapists.com, and click on Ask Two Therapists at the top of the page. Now, not only do we want to hear about your struggles and dilemmas, sometimes we just kind of want to hear what you think about current things that are going on. So that's what we're going to do today.
Absolutely. So, what's the hottest topic you believe is going on right now, Aisha?
Well, my social media tells me that even though it's been a few days later, people are still talking about Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith, and
Chris Rock.
Chris Rock.
Absolutely. So today we're going to take a deep dive with a clinical lens to talk about this new entanglement that we find Chris Rock, Will
That,
Smith.
that that word's gonna stick around forever.
I had to
It's the
throw it in
next
there
entanglement.
somehow. Not quite sure if it fits the situation, but we got a little debacle on our hands. But we're going to talk about it from a clinical lens, and because everybody's talking about it, we've had a few days to settle down about it. And as I was sharing with our guests earlier, I think this is something that shook the Black community in the U.S. Perhaps not every Black person, but we were certainly talking about it every day. So we're going to talk about what's going on with those two Black men and that one Black woman, even several days later after we have some fresh news about both of them. So let me introduce our clinical guest who's going to help us out with the situation. The first guest is Darrell Brooks. He is a licensed professional counselor who led and developed how to counsel the Black family. He has trained for 7 years in working with individuals that were charged with DUI and several core agencies throughout Georgia. Currently, he serves as the president of the Licensed Professional Counselor Association of Georgia, their first African American in a 30-year history. Darrell is an interactive, solution-focused therapist. He uses complementary methodologies and techniques to offer a highly personalized approach tailored to each client. Darrell Brooks, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Let me fix that up a little bit. It was 2016, 2018 when I did it, because that's when the year that we were able to, where I lobbied with another person for us to be able to have the right to diagnose here in Atlanta.
I remember that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so
I just moved here.
so I was part of that champion bill that we went through state senate, and I helped with the state congressional Black Caucus there. They helped us champion the bill, so we got it passed. So we was able to diagnose, because as you know, if we can't diagnose, there was no way that we could be on any insurance
Mhm.
panels and also do private practice, because we was doing diagnostic impressions. So that was a change that I helped out, and that led me to become the president during that time frame for 2016 to 2018. So I had to change that. Now I'm not currently the president. I am president of the foundation for the Licensed Professional Counsel Association of Georgia, but
Gotcha.
not as the actual president interim for the organization.
Gotcha. But thank you, Black man. I appreciate everything you did.
Anytime, man. That's what we do.
And I'm going to introduce our other guest, Aishia Grevenberg. MSWLCSW. She's a dynamic mental health professional. She has over 20 years of distinguished professional service to undervalued populations, particularly women and people of color. Ms. Grevenberg has advanced clinical practice expertise in trauma, relationships, codependency, addiction, and mood disorders. Through rigorous scholarship and extensive experience, Ms. Grevenberg has crafted her own therapeutic philosophy. Each person has within everything needed to live an inspired life. My apologies. Ms. Grevenberg currently practices in Las Vegas, Nevada. She
All
is
right.
working on a self-help book for women to improve their lives by identifying and repairing their negative thinking patterns. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, in case anyone does not remember,
In
Break it
case you don't
down.
remember, check Facebook.
I'm
And
not.
you'll
Yeah.
find
You can Google it, but I'm not gonna show the video or anything. But basically, during the Oscar ceremony Sunday night, Chris Rock was up there to present the nominees for Best Documentary. I
Yes.
believe, and he cracked a joke or two up there. He made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith and going to appear in the next G.I. Jane 2. Demi Moore appeared in the first G.I. Jane. He had short hair, just like all the other military people. And apparently Will did not like that because he walked on stage calmly and slapped the mess out of Chris Rock.
Well, let me pause there.
Please.
Because I think Will Smith did like it. I saw him laugh.
He laughed at the first time, but when
Yeah.
he saw that Jada looked at him, then he started stepping up. And if he wasn't going up there calmly neither. He was kind of coming up there. You know?
But he had a little pimp, little swag to
He
him.
was
did.
stepping
Swag. He had
pretty
a
quick.
swag.
That little George Jefferson walk, that's what he had. He came up there walking like that. You know, he's ready, high stepping, ready to do something. So,
But there's more to it. So he walked up there, slapped Chris Rock in front of the world.
Yeah.
Chris Rock was stunned.
I thought it was staged initially.
I'm gonna ask about that.
Okay.
So Will Smith went back to his seat. Let me just speed up. Will Smith went back to his seat and yelled, Chris Rock's like, what in the world? Keep my wife's name out your MF mouth.
And I did not even hear it the first time.
He said it twice. So but Chris Rock actually composed himself after a few moments and continued with the show. And now we learned that during a commercial break, Denzel Washington, Tyler Perry went up to console and talked to Will Smith, and I believe Bradley Cooper, talked to him for a few minutes, and then that was that. But the question I want to ask you guys first, when you first learned about it, I didn't watch the Oscars. I was getting text messages. I was getting IMs about it, after Will Smith won. And then I had to piece it all together. When you first saw the video, whether you were watching it live or you discovered it later or the next day, like Aishia, what was your first response, Darrell Brooks?
Holy, that's what I said. I couldn't believe it. And it was weird because I was at work. So because I work for a hospital in the emergency room doing mental health with people who are like suicidal ideation, stuff like that, or have any type of problem. And so one of the nurses called me over and said, "Hey, did you check this out?" I said, "What are you talking about?" What's name got slapped? And I was like, "Who got slapped?" And they said, "Chris got slapped." I said, "For real? Y'all playing, man? This got to be staged."
This sounds crazy.
It sounds crazy. So when they showed it, and I was like, "Wait a minute," and then you can hear him mutter those words, keep my wife's name out your mouth. And it just threw me for a loop because I was like, I deal with people who have anger problems, and this person definitely needs to be 1013 because it's it's a homicidal act. So my thought, I'm going in my brain, yeah, because you say you hitting somebody, you assaulting somebody just straight off the rip, just out of nowhere. So that was my first thing. I was like, I can't believe this, and I was like, is it staged or what? Because the way Chris reacted was like he took the hit.
He did.
Paused for a second, thought about it, and didn't do anything. And I kept saying, okay, there's something deeper to that, and they'll figure this out. But for me, it just put a crucial blow because I'm not really I stopped watching the award ceremonies and stuff like that because I just kept thinking it was just it's just getting out there. But then when that happened, and then they brought the backdrop of how it was run of the all black production crew that was running the whole thing, and it ran with sisters involved as well. That's now the co-host and who also produced it was a sister, whoever did the producing. Also now it's like, wait a minute, then you start thinking, okay, now we just set ourselves back. So I agree with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Yeah, Kareem had wrote a piece on it himself, and I kind of agree with Kareem on certain aspects of that. But we'll talk about more about that together. But I don't want to take up time.
I want to hear from you, Aishia. What was your first? And I'm gonna get to you, Aishia. What was your first response when you saw it?
So, first of all, I'm a huge Chris Rock fan. Like we're talking 30 years in the game. I've been down with Chris Rock since he was Pookie. Y'all remember when he was Pookie?
Yeah, I remember Pookie. Yeah.
So I know New Jack City by heart. I grew up in Trenton, New Jersey. You put on New Jack City, I can go word for word for word. Where he was like, "They come get me, they're killing me, they're gonna kill me," and he came and got him. Yes. I love me some Chris Rock. So my girl texted me like, "Yo, did you see Will Smith smack Chris Rock?" I'm like, "Nah, it's it didn't happen." So I pulled it up and looked at it. When he slapped him, I jumped like that.
Wow.
I jumped.
Yep.
And I'm a survivor of domestic violence. And when that triggered me, and I was like, I can't, it just bothered me. I'm like, first of all, like, I'm protective of Chris Rock, because that's like, you know, he's my spiritual homie. I never met the dude, but he's my spiritual homie. And I just couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. I'm like, really? And so I got my TikTok. You know, I like to put my TikTok together. And I just said what I had to say. And then it's like 500,000 views later, 1 million views later, 1.4 views later, and just the shock. Like, I was so triggered. I was shaking.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep. And the physical reaction that I had to it, I couldn't believe it, but it took me right back. It took me in an instant
to a
right back.
incident. Thank you.
Right.
What about you, Aishia? Because I saw you post on social media, your personal page, the next morning. I was like, she slept through that? But go ahead. What was your first response, Aishia?
I slept hard. So I had my 12-year-old with me when I was watching it. And when it first went down, we couldn't hear what was said. I mean, later on, I watched the video.
It's all the American version.
Right. And I was thinking, you know, Xfinity always messing up something. Let me rewind and see what happened. But it just didn't work. Later on, I found out on Facebook, because, you know, I'm scrolling while I'm watching. People are like, that's what Chris Rock gets and all that. And I'm like, whoa, was it real? After I look on the internet, I am then like appalled, because, you know, we've all seen the Will and Jada show. But it's just always something going on, always some kind of drama.
Some drama.
Right.
And not just appalled by Will Smith, but like, where is security?
Yes.
Yeah. Where was
Like,
security?
nobody
And why was he allowed to stay there?
Just walk
to
up
receive his award, and people gave him a standing ovation. Now, let me put this out there. I like Will Smith. I think the brother's cool. He's one of those nice brothers out there. He's a little corny and silly, but that's all right. We need that diversity, you know, with the images of black men that are out there. Not everybody's a thug, but I was thrown back. I gasped when I saw the video. It was after he won for best performing.
King Richard, yeah.
King Richard. Some people were texting me, and I had to pull it up. I saw the Chinese version of it, because they were talking a different language. And I could hear. I gasped right here on this couch behind me. I gasped, like, oh no, this is a joke. No. Oh, brother looks mad. He had steam coming out here. I'm like, oh my, look at Chris. Notice
how disrespectful that whole open hand slap. You know, not a.
So we're gonna talk about that. So, you know, it was disappointing for me to see a brother like Will Smith reduce himself to a street thug, doing what I hear these guys doing on news, you know, in Atlanta, shooting each other over a fight, over an argument, over a girl, something somebody said over the social media, and they pull out guns and they pull out knives and somebody's dead, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what it reminded me of. And Will Smith, surely something is wrong. We don't know Will Smith. None of us, I believe, have never talked to him. But I want us to talk about Will first, from a clinical perspective.
Yeah, but because let me say, and going into this, talking about it from a clinical perspective, the first thing that I saw was so many people backing him up and justifying him slapping Jada. So let's start with you, Aishia. From a clinical standpoint, what are you thinking is going through Will's mind when he walks up there after laughing, and then he gets up and he walks up and he slaps Chris?
See, I just want to know if I can be comfortable. You know, I never met y'all before. I need to know I can go ahead and be comfortable.
You would
and say the thing. Okay. This is someone that has a mindset of an abuser. And this is what I said on my page. Because if you give yourself permission to harm someone for saying something that was not a threat to you, was not in your personal space, didn't charge at you, there was no provocation whatsoever. And for you to get up, and he sauntered up there. He sauntered up, and at any moment, he could have stopped, and he did not. And he got up there, and he looked him in his face, and he smacked him. And so you have to think that he gave himself permission to do what he did. In his mind, if you say something I don't like, then I can put my hands on you. It's that simple.
That part.
And so that approach is deeply, deeply problematic. And so I caution us from saying that everything is mental health. Everybody want to say he needed a therapist. Look, I don't have nothing to do with a lot of this. Like, leave us out of it. You understand what I'm saying? Like, oh, he needs a therapist. He needs a therapist. Maybe he needs Jesus. I don't know.
Jesus and a therapist.
Is that mental health? If someone says in their mind, yeah, I'm going to knock you out. You said something I don't like. That's behavior.
So
that's privilege. That's entitlement. That's male privilege.
That's what I'm thinking, privilege. Yeah. And apparently there is. I mean, we very rarely think of Black men having privilege, but he did have the privilege to slap someone and sit through and then tie your, rest of the awards show and still be able to go up there and get his award and go on and on to justify what
and the white people said, poor Will.
Well, he's acceptable.
Well,
okay.
But Darrell, what's your take on?
I wouldn't consider it Black privilege. I would consider it socially economic privilege because of the millions that he made with the movies that he's done that made him a likable guy from since the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to all the stuff that he did with the movies with Men in Black and all that. So it's more of that he have arrived to meet the standards of what Hollywood would consider you are a part of us type of standard. Now, him going up there, somebody gonna say he had an out of body experience. No, he was totally in control. I agree with that with Aishia. He was in total control because the only time you out of control is either you had a stroke or you have a seizure. That's the only time you're out of control. He had pure control, pure thought, pure action when he walked up there. That was on impulse and on emotion. The emotion got to the point where he became very impulsive. And just like anything, when we deal with addiction, people who suffer from addiction, they tend to react on impulse, on emotion. So he reacted on the fact that he looked at his wife rolled her eyes, had some type of look, and he thought about certain things. I need to step up, be burly for my wife to defend her honor, which was not even an honor to defend because, things that she shared on red table talk should be stayed at the kitchen table. Should not be aired.
We'll get to that soon.
Anything that.
It ought to just be kitchen table talks.
Right. So her actions, bled that into what I consider a whole situation where it was called displacement. To me, as we all know, clinicians, displacement of anger. He had to hit somebody, so he picked out the weakest link, and he looked at Chris and said, "This is my target for the night, and I'm going to go in." And when he went in, the repercussion felt. Then he starts crying because all of a sudden, oh, now I'm back to myself. King Richard was a fierce defender of the truth. He fought for his family. And then if you look at it coming up,
he fought for some of his family.
Some of it. His son said he never condoned violence. So that shut that down.
And we didn't see that in the movie. As a matter of fact, Richard himself was beat up, by other people in the neighborhood. But we're not going to go there. But I hear you, Aishia, as you talked about him going up and how that can be a sign that perhaps he had experienced some abuse or violence in the past. Because one of the things that struck me is I've watched that video at least 20 times. The ease that he went up there to slap this man, no warning. He didn't say, you blank, you don't do that. He walked up there as if he has seen that situation before. He has seen that hand. He had practiced perhaps and seen the hand swing and hit somebody like they were a child. Don't say it like a mean, stern dad. I told you not to do anything, but he didn't say anything. He just slapped her and calmly turned around like a stern dad who just slapped his child and walked away without a word. So I hear you, Aishia, as you talk about that. And of course, Darrell, he was driven by emotions to do that. It's just he had no control over it at that moment. And I'm still a little bit confused about what motivated him to take such an extreme reaction to a joke. Yeah. And as you're saying, he was the target, Darrell. Apparently, August Alsina wasn't available.
Right. There we go. That's what I'm saying. Because he was still at the house. He was still at the house chilling, spending his time waiting on her. That's what he's like. He's like, hey, either you're going to do something, it's either going to be August or you. What you going to do to step up? So I'll step up my game. I'll slap somebody. maybe that was the motivating factor. I don't know. Well, like we don't know, but we do know is the fact that what he did was wrong, was an assault, and
Absolutely.
and because of those things, there should have been consequences that needed to be handled quickly. Because had that been Ricky Gervais's, had that been another white host who would have said
Jim
that same
Carrey.
joke, Jim Carrey
Will
said that same,
Ferrell.
Will
Will
Ferrell,
Ferrell.
who said that same joke, I'm quite sure
Will would not
the
do a thing.
right, and security would have been there promptly.
Well, I'm like imagining him slapping Will Ferrell walking away and being tackled. Like when those protesters try to
Oh yeah,
do
Mhm.
stuff at political rallies, and then I'm imagining a tackle had he been slapping a white comedian.
So y'all know what just came to me. I want you to hear me out with this because
Okay.
I've been playing this dynamic in my mind. Like if it had been a white person up there like Will Ferrell, who I love, and Vince Vaughn had got up and charged him, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
But now that we're saying it this way, I'm wondering if there's some devaluation of Chris Rock because he's black. And if Will Smith knows that he can't do that to a white man. And I want you to just sit and let you think for a minute, because he
I'm
knows good
marinating
and
on
well that he is not going to harm a white man at the Oscars. He knows that. And so there's a level of a devaluation of black life that he stepped into when he did that to Chris Rock, because all of us know good and well he would have not done that to a white man.
Or
We
he
know
would
that.
not, but he would not have done it to I'm gonna put it like he would not have done it to a Terry Crews. He would not have done that to a Steve
No.
Harvey. He would have
No,
not
he
done
wouldn't.
that to a
No,
DL
he wouldn't.
Hughley. He
No,
would
he
not have
No.
done that to even Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's smaller
Even
than
if
him.
they had made
Kevin Hart
jokes
is
in the
small. Kevin Hart
past,
would have took him out.
Yeah,
yes,
Took him out.
right.
even if they made jokes about Jada in the past, like Chris Rock had done, still was not reason for him to jump up on that stage and attack that grown black man the way he did. But I hear what you're saying, Darrell. It was because it was Chris and Aishia and saying that he devalued Chris as a black man and he had a smaller stature. He felt much more comfortable going up there to smack Chris Rock compared
Chris
to
could be
someone else.
bullied. Chris could be bullied.
What is
Kevin
he, like
Hart.
5'8"?
I don't know. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
But I know he's super thin.
But
right?
I think
5'8".
yeah, the history of Chris though, he has been bullied.
Yeah,
he has been bullied. So that I think just like Aisha said when Will smacked Chris, it set her back to where she felt that violence, and so that could have been a possibility that when he got hit, it set him back to the point where he felt that being bullied when he was younger, but he tried not to react in a way because he still had hey, life's a stage. I gotta still perform. I still got to move forward. I still got to do what I got to do, and so that's what I was looking at too, because we thought about that too, because if everybody hates Chris, he was bullied on everybody hates Chris. And that was part of his life. So it did share that part of it. So I mean, what do you think about that, Aisha? Was that something you could look at or consider? Would that be?
When we think about the response of someone being physically assaulted, not only on live TV, but during a performance, and for him to compose himself and continue with what he was going to do, no one acknowledges that. So you can say, well, Will Smith acted on emotion, but Chris Rock was able to manage his emotions and not knock him out. Because he's from New York, I'm from Jersey. You put your hands on me, I don't care who here. We're going to figure this out. And it ain't going to happen in the parking lot. It's going to happen right now.
Oh, yeah.
But he was able to compose himself, understand where he was, understand his purpose for being there, and the larger context of the showcase of Black talent that night. And I have to shout out my soror, Wanda Sykes, hosting. You have D9 on display. How dare you disrespect my soror and her job and what she worked for to get there? And so Chris Rock is able to pull it all together, but Will Smith can't. And Chris Rock was assaulted.
Yeah,
he was assaulted. So isn't he the one that we should understand? Like, yo, you should have knocked him out. Y'all should have been there scrapping.
I mean, grab the back of his collar and drag him back. Don't slap me and walk away.
I try to tell everybody. I said first and foremost, like you said, Cleveland. I'm from Cleveland. Shouts out to my hometown, Canton, Ohio, and Cleveland. I'm from up there. So the first thing when I see him stepping up, there's a step back. You're gonna play to put your hands up. Hey, come on, man! Quit playing, man! Quit playing! You're gonna be dancing around or something like that, because when he starts to swing, you're gonna catch it right here. Then I'm coming back with my other piece and giving it two. So it's gonna be that way. Once I catch it here, I got you. And
I'm wondering if Chris never imagined because I couldn't. Will Smith walking up there and smacking him because he leaned forward as
He did.
I'm wondering so he can hear what he was saying.
No,
Yeah,
maybe
like,
they were gonna
yeah.
have a conversation
Like
or
we're gonna
something.
have,
Like,
and maybe Will was mad, and then that gave Will the opportunity to slap the mess out of him. But when Will Smith went back and he yelled back twice, "Keep my wife's name out your MF mouth,"
I would
and
have said Jada. I
you
would
need
said it
to,
again.
you need
one
I
to
would
more
said it
keep
again.
time.
I would said it again.
August Alsina out of your wife's
Yeah.
mouth. That's what you need to do.
Uh-oh.
But I'll keep
Yeah.
that back.
Harrison
But
said it, not me.
I said it. Will, give me a call, bro. We can talk about it. But when I saw Will in the seat, had you guys seen that version of Will Smith on any interview? When he was in the seat yelling back, was that Will Smith? Because I have a theory about that.
Well, I mean, it still kind of looked to me like he almost had a little smirk on his face. I couldn't.
Yes.
That's why I still could not tell if it was staged because it looked like it was part of a show. It was a joke to him.
He was a peacock. He stepped out and he said, "They're proud. Keep her name out your mouth." And what I need for people to understand is that that's the flip. That every person who's been abused, who's been bullied, who's been scammed, you see that flip. And everyone, I mean, Will Smith, are you kidding me? From out of Philly, remember when he won that, he won some kind of Oscar back in the day when they didn't like rap, and there was like he got like some kind of big award for rap album of the year, and it was his album was trash, and everyone's like, that's not hip hop. You remember that? They're like, that's
when he tried to be hard. Yeah, I remember that.
Right, but he crosses over and he makes white people comfortable because he's always smiling, he's funny, he's jovial, and white people are comfortable around him, and so he's always played that role. But when we saw that part of him, that's what every survivor knows, that this is who this person really is. And I have people in my comments like, you can have someone, father comes home, yells at everybody, gets on the phone, keying with his friends, like nothing happened. It's the exact same thing.
That's exactly how we all acted afterwards. Like nothing happened.
He was out there partying, dancing.
I saw that. No remorse. He was just like, "Hey, I got my award."
He was just
had a good
bottle
time.
popping, just partying.
Yep. Like what happened? I got my award, and the rest of us were still shook. But it's funny you bring that up, Aishia, because I was wondering, the little I know about his personal life, the only way he's explained, and he published a book recently, put it out, and people talking about it. I'm wondering if he was channeling his dad.
I mean, there's a possibility. There's a possibility, but also there's a part of him that he talks about how Jada idolizes Tupac so much that he could never get that same type of love from her that she gives towards Tupac. So this was something that made
was in the book.
I think so. Yeah,
and he's talked about it too.
Yeah. So it's that this is gangster. I get to go up and slap somebody. That's gonna be gangster. Now she can look at me like I'm Tupac. I don't know, but
we're all speculating.
Yeah, we're speculating. So, but that's one of the things that I'm thinking is the fact that for him to be that brash with it and just burly walking up there, boom, and sit down and then just calmly like, yeah. What now? And see, like I said, for me, I'm an instigator. I'll just call her back again and, "Hey, Jada, what's up? Get your man, because I'm about to knock him out." I would have said it right in front of everybody. So we're gonna be furniture moving today, and they're gonna go in the commercial. And then when he lay down looking up at her, I said, "Nah, this is your man. Pick him up and get him out of here. I'll go ahead. I got my attorney on retainer. We'll take care of all this later."
Right.
I would not have blamed Chris for doing it, but I'm happy that he took another route,
he did.
With that. But I just wanted to see what you guys thought about that person sitting in that seat, because I hadn't recognized that Will Smith before. Like he had like a old school 1975 black man swagger to him when he walked back. He had a smirk when he turned around after he slapped Chris. Walked back to his seat, and I remember one time watching a video going, "Who is that?"
Yeah. Do you honestly think that was the first time? You think that was the first time he did something like that?
I don't know.
I mean, honestly, so the very first time you have an outburst in your entire life is the biggest moment of your acting career. Give me a break. The biggest moment of your acting career, the pinnacle of success for any actor in the world, not just the United States, in the world. Any actor globally, this is the pinnacle. This is what crowns you as having made it. There is nothing above this. but Jesus himself. And you know I'm telling the truth. And so on your night where everyone is there to honor you, you choose to be a totally different person for the very first time in your life. That's not probable.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
doesn't make any sense.
I agree with you. I don't buy that brand. I get you. I don't buy that brand.
Okay.
But what I do know is that what's name was just stoic. If you look at Jado, that she was just stoic, just sitting there like
So
ain't nothing
let's
happening. Let's party. We good. And she was just
She
sitting
wasn't
there.
really impressed, it didn't seem, but also like she
She didn't try to
didn't seem
stop it.
shocked either. She was like, okay.
Mm-mm. She like no, she
She
ain't trying
ain't
to
grab
top
her
us.
man and like
Look, babe,
down.
chill, stop.
I was
Yeah,
about
none
to
of that.
ask that. Let's talk
Yeah,
about Jada right now
Babe, it's
for
okay. It's
a few
okay.
minutes,
Yeah.
and I put this on my
none of
social
that.
media. What's the role of a spouse, partner, significant other when you see you're out at an event and you see your partner, spouse about to pop off and do something incredibly dumb?
Shut it down.
What is your role as a spouse? Because Jada did nothing.
Mm-mm.
Nothing.
You're
I
supposed
mean,
to shut that
I'm
down.
thinking like, let's protect our money. Because
Yes,
I'm
your
thinking
brand.
if when Chris Rock didn't do anything, I was just hoping that he would just file a lawsuit the next day. Go ahead and get
Well, he still has a chance.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
But
statute of
Add a
limitations
few
still ain't
million
over
to
yet.
So as a spouse, I'm thinking I have to protect our money because clearly,
Yes,
like Will's the breadwinner, right?
of course.
Jada makes some money, but
Yeah,
Will's the
cause
breadwinner.
yeah,
Don't
cause
let him go up there messing with our money like that.
And embarrass the family after all the
Yeah.
embarrassment that I caused that Jada's
Mhm.
thinking in her head.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
She
what
still
about
thinks she
Because
did.
the residuals from Jason Lyrics ain't gonna make that much for them what they doing living now. You know what I'm
I just
saying?
watched episode 10 of Bel Air. It was good. Will made money off of me
he
watching
sure did? He's
everybody
a good
else.
businessman. I think he's a good actor, but something's going on with him. But what do you believe is Jada's role in this debacle beyond Sunday night at the Oscars? There's some dynamics going on between Will and Jada those dynamics have been there for years. And we saw the mess hit the fan, I think it was a year ago, with August Alsina, the young singer, exposing that he had an intimate affair with Jada for, I believe, 2 years, he said, in the house. And he was the son's friend. And then
Oh,
we have
really?
seen Will try to spin it, and he went to the tabletop, which I think it was a mistake, crying, and looking hurt and wounded. But Jada looked like she was in charge
Yeah.
during that time. What are your thoughts about Jada's role in Will becoming the man who we saw Sunday night? That's what I want to know.
Let's start with you, Aisha, because see, when I'm thinking, I'm thinking, Jada putting some voodoo on them or something. She's driving everybody out of their minds. I need to know what's going on. But tell us what you think.
First, last week, a little over a week ago, she went on, I believe it was Instagram, and said she doesn't care what anyone says about her hair, that she's fully embraced it. She feels like it's gorgeous. She's excited about it. She talked about how she didn't like the wigs and all that because that wasn't her, and that this look really fit her face. So she said that
looks good
publicly. Mm-hmm. She does look good because of her. She just looks good, right? Yep. But she said that publicly and verbally. I don't care what anyone says about my hair. I like it. I embrace it. That's what she said. So that's number one. And number two, if you see your friend, let alone your partner, about to do something crazy, you're going to have to stop him. And it doesn't matter who it is. If it's my best friend and I see her bubbling up, when somebody you care about is bubbling up. When it's starting to build, you come on, baby, come on, calm down.
I'm usually the friend that's having to be calmed down, but
right. You and your friends know you. They know when you
right.
When you get that look like, oh, word, that's what we doing, because it's always that indication, right? Mm-hmm. She didn't do anything, and then she was kikiing when he walked back, and she didn't look at him like, if you don't sit your, you know what I mean? How you have you got to get right. She didn't do any of that. Nope. And at what point? And I don't want to make her as a woman responsible for his behavior. Right. I'm saying her responsibility, even as his friend, was gone, and it wasn't there.
As a partner.
Yep. It wasn't there.
What about you, Darrell?
She's slowly chipping away. She was chipping away ever since the first time they got together, where the episode about his wife, she recognized how he was still going through the separation with his first wife, and then she stepped into the game. She
I
admitted that on
remember
her.
that.
She remembered that on Red Table Talks about that, how she should have allowed them to finish up what they were doing before she stepped in. Another
Okay.
time she broke up the relationship between Daddy Jeff and Fresh Prince. That was something that caused them
I didn't
where
know that.
they had to separate.
I
Yep,
know
that was
that.
a toxic thing. Ask Jazzy Jeff yourself; he'll let you know.
Oh,
Um, so these things were happening along the way. So they just little by little, just chipping away, chipping away, chipping away. The open marriage and stuff like that. They probably agreed to that. I know when I asked my wife about that, she was like, "Hell no, that ain't happening." So I said, "Yes, ma'am. We'll just take that out. That we don't have no open marriage. We closed." So these were conversations that probably was going on, and it just lingered to the point where, as you can see, they wrote their book, the Red Table. Like I said, that Red Table Talk stuff started revealing a lot of stuff that normally we won't reveal. But when I had talked to my wife about it, and we sat down and had a good conversation, and she said the first thing I said, if I seen, she said, because if it's something about like some her and they say something about that to my wife, she said, Darrell, you know what you need to do, take pull him to the side when y'all go backstage and holler at him and
yep.
set that up like that
After the
way.
show,
Shut it down or
he
shut it
could have
down.
slapped him after the show.
Hey,
A
yeah,
commercial break.
yeah. And she then she said, the issue is how relevant is that affecting us truthfully? And that's what my wife said. Does that really affect me truthfully? Was I in tears? Did I
Mm,
walk off the stage? Did I leave? No.
yeah,
We're gonna sit right here,
yeah.
handle this business, get this award, and then move on, and then pull him to the side and talk to him then. Because it wasn't really like a slap talk then, but if he said something real critical, like start talking about my family, my dad, and my brother. Now there's furniture moving.
Yeah,
Yes. But at that time frame, it wasn't really something about it because
yeah.
if you look at it, he didn't write that joke. The joke was written by I forgot the white lady that's on one of the hosts. It was a
Was
white
it Amy Schumer? Was it
Amy
her?
Schumer. Amy Schumer wrote the joke.
Really?
But
Right.
was it a joke or was it a reference to a Marine who's a feminist who was bald? Like, what are we
Yeah.
So
talking
that's what I'm
about?
saying. So
What
that
this
yeah,
this is
you're right.
what are we talking about? We're talking about him saying you're going to be the next GI Jane. How was that problematic?
That's
How
what
is
I'm
that
saying.
problematic?
And
Me
I
too.
was so confused by what was offensive about that because I mean, people are acting like everybody knew that Jada had alopecia. I had no idea until
And it
somebody else
didn't
posted
matter.
it on
It didn't matter.
Facebook.
It's a joke.
It didn't
So,
matter.
Aisha said it right off the rip. She said she was the one that said that she embraced her baldness.
right.
So
I didn't know she said she was okay with it. And it was, I mean, I'm assuming everybody thought it was funny. The audience laughed, Will laughed.
But
hmm
then he got up.
So
So
go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
So I
It's
have
getting
a
me hot. Go
question,
ahead.
and it's a theory in my head. Just let me know if you think I'm crazy or what.
calm
You
down,
know,
Aisha. Calm down.
it,
Calm down. We got
so
you. Calm down.
it's well known and that Jada has emasculated Will for years by her actions and even some of the words
Mhm.
Yeah.
that she has said in interviews. I remember she told Oprah that she said he makes love like
A wimp
um,
is what
a
she
wimp,
said.
a
Yeah,
woman. She said woman.
see.
That's what I
She said
saw in
Oh,
the
woman.
comments.
oh my goodness.
So
I'm glad I didn't see that because
that, yeah,
oh my
she said
goodness.
a woman. She said Will Smith makes love like a
Good
woman.
woman. Okay.
Is what she said. So after all of that, in the August Alsina incident and the table talk, and I saw the dynamics within them, Will Smith has been emasculated. Obviously, I believe Jada has much more power in that relationship than Will. Is it
Could she be a
possible?
Kardashian? Oh,
Is
I
it
didn't mean to say that.
possible that Jada gave him a signal? You better go do something.
Did I go? I must
Is
To turn him into a thug.
oh,
I mean, he's been
is that
getting
possible? Because
jiggy with it
that's a
and talking
theory
about the
in my
man in black for
head.
years. And
Negro, don't you sit there and let him talk about me like that. That look on her face is like, you gonna be Tupac or you gonna be a woman?
hmm
That's just a theory. As I'm still trying to piece this together, did she send him a signal? That's what I'm asking.
I
To
still
get
even
up
have a
and do
hard
something.
time. It's hard for me to believe that Pac would have even done anything like that. Pac was an artist first before all of this. He was
Right.
a poet. He was a poet. And all that other stuff was really for show. Pac was a poet, and I have a hard time believing that he would get to that point and act that way.
No, no,
Please.
I
I
don't.
think that she's. Go ahead.
I
Okay.
agree with Aisha. He would, but it's just the fact that Pac was so loved, and he was straight hood. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Pac wore Thug Life tattooed on his chest,
And no
and
one
rode.
disrespected him.
No one disrespected him. He did serve. He did do Thug Life time. You
He
know,
did. He
he
did.
was on Death Row Records.
Yep.
So, but the fact that he was still an artist, he was still formulating his ways and became start realizing that he had power behind his words, and he started going doing it right before he died. That would made her fall in love with Pac in that way because she's from Baltimore. So
Yeah.
she, so she was in love with that type of dude that can be still that rose that came up from up under concrete. That one of Pac's statements he said. So Will Smith, the guy who comes from West Philly, who makes love like a woman, doesn't have that doesn't have the testosterone level of Pac. So it's not the fact that Pac would have went up there and slapped it because Pac would have did it.
Okay.
But it's just the fact that Pac was that man's man. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Was that dude or that or that brother? Since we don't use the N word on shows, so I say that brother that
Thank you.
that you say this is my brother. So because of that, that's why Will was more or less feeling like he needed to be burly, do something that may seem like Pac may have done. We know Pac probably wouldn't have did it, but that just made him feel more burly. But like you're saying, it also could be from the history of being the domestic violence that he witnessed or been a part of and stuff like that at his home. So that's where he made it rationalize that that's normal behavior for a burly person to go up and slap somebody.
Yeah.
That's
But that shows his misunderstanding of
Right.
masculinity.
right.
That shows that he has no
Yes.
concept of what masculinity is, because a boss would just sit there
Yep.
and give you a look,
Yep.
and you
They
know,
get you later. Like, you
And
know,
you
you
know.
watching your
Yep.
Catch
back.
you
and they could
slipping.
even
I'm gonna
be
catch you slipping.
smiling.
I'm
They
catch
could
you
even
slipping.
be smiling,
Yep.
and you know you're gonna need to be escorted to your car. You know it, and
Yep.
that is the problem. Masculinity isn't behavior as
No.
much as it is this confidence, this inner sense of authority that everyone recognizes when you walk into a room that he doesn't have.
So
And you can smack whoever you want, but when Jay-Z walks into a room, he moves with that knowing. And he said, "I'm Jay-Z anywhere I go." And he walks in there with that knowing. And he didn't have to have $1 billion to move with that kind of knowing. He
That
always
energy.
had that. He always had it, and you can't get that through putting your hands on someone. That's
No.
something that it exudes. Everybody recognizes it. Animals recognize it. You know how somebody tell your dog to be quiet, you do it 1,000,000 times, the dog don't do nothing, and then someone coming there with bass, the dog just sit down like this right here, because it recognizes authority. He does
Right.
not have that. He doesn't have it, and other men do, and I'm sure it bothers him.
So do
Yeah.
you believe that Will Smith was trying to hold on or grab some small piece of masculinity within him?
I think that I don't know a lot about him or her. I try to avoid them as much as possible. I feel like they emotionally vomit, and it's inappropriate and it's annoying. But based on him growing up witnessing domestic violence, it sounds like he truly is confused about what power is versus force. Sounds like he doesn't understand those two dynamics. And
Gotcha.
understanding healthy leadership.
True.
Healthy leadership, what does that
In his
look
own
like?
family.
He has no concept of that. And then he has a partner that has no boundaries. There are no boundaries. I don't care how popular you are. There are certain things that you don't share. Do we know anything about Jay-Z and Beyonce? No, we don't
Very
need to
little.
love them.
Now
Very
we
don't
saw
little.
need
that
to know.
elevator video.
And that was a
and
sister.
Did they say
Mhm.
anything about it?
Nope.
Nope.
We love
In the
them. We
song, she
don't
mentioned
need to
something in the
know.
song about all that money in the elevator. That's the only thing we ever heard
That's
about.
the only thing she said, and she was a boss. I was like, okay.
She
okay,
didn't sit
$1
down
billion,
at a red
okay.
table. I'm not even a big fan, but I
She
respect
decided
how
to
she
make
handled
money off
her
of it.
privacy. So, Darrell,
Right.
do you think Will Smith is fragile these days?
Yeah, he's unraveling. He's unraveling.
Yeah.
And the reason why he's unraveling is the fact
Emotional.
that it's so much that's going on that when you get to a certain level, and not like I say, you get to a certain level, especially in Hollywood, there's a lot of things that happen and people start to unravel. I mean, if we look at none of us would have thought about Bill Cosby the way we thought about Bill Cosby couple years ago. You know what's going on with him. We thought he was just that way, but he began to unravel when he tried to do certain things that you try to appeal to a certain level. And that's just me doing the what we call the Hollywood concept of how that it takes your soul. Once you start off thinking that you're going one way, but once you get up in there and you become part of the club, you begin to realize that this is what you're really not working for, and that's just certain things on. Is That's just my 2 cents on it. If I do find an evidence based book and I start doing some parathetical articles on it, I can probably create a little theory and write this up, and we can have it in a nice little journal or something one day.
Yeah.
But but the things for tonight, man, it's just mostly about our clinical mindset, how we think critically about our individuals that we come in contact with, both as clinicians, but as also as people, because we are people watchers. That's the one
Yeah.
thing that we
We
do,
are.
that we have a skill set that we can watch the people, we can analyze the person right before they come in the room and know what's going on with that person, and know when to say, hey, time to get your purse, let's roll. I'm giving you 2 seconds because right now this person about to go off, and sure enough, something goes off. But we just have that mindset. It's also trained, but it's innate. It's a given talent. I think that that's why we chose these professions, because it's not just because money's not involved in this profession. What's involved in this profession is what's golden inside of how we distribute and give ourselves to the other
Gotcha.
person and see them better than they were when they first came to us. That's
Gotcha.
what makes it. That's what makes it for me golden. It's just to
Gotcha.
see that I can make a change, a difference in someone's life, and allow them to be able to be the best that they can be. And I think that's what we're here for. And
Yeah.
so even with Will, even with Jada, even with Chris, our goal here was to say these are certain things that we can see that traits are, and that how we bring those back to the people that we deal with on a daily basis and share with them, hey, even though they did these traits, we're going to give you tools, we're going to give you ways to how to control your anger, how to walk like a boss, how to understand that when situations like these happen, that's not, we have to look beyond just that first instinct, but understand what's the hidden message behind that. Those
Yeah.
are the things that I wanted to share
And
and,
the
and feel
outcome.
comfortable about that and the outcome of, because when we get to that point, we won't have to worry about people like Chris or Will or anything like that, because we know that the people that we touch, their lives, they're going to be able to make it better for everyone.
Absolutely. So let me ask very quickly, because Aisha, I know you mentioned, you're a big fan of Chris Rock. What would you say to him right now? Because
Yeah, let's talk about Chris.
nobody went to his rescue.
Good.
No one
Chris.
went to
Nobody.
console Chris. He
Nobody.
had to work last night, Wednesday night, had to do
Yep.
I
a
saw
comedy
that.
concert in Boston. So I don't even know if he had time to process what
No.
happened. But Aisha, I want to start with you first with that. What would you say to Chris if he was sitting on your couch right now?
Well, he definitely is someone I deeply, deeply admire and respect, and I would want to hold space for whatever he's feeling and however he wanted to emote, and it gives him an opportunity to say, when did that happen before? Because we all know that loss triggers loss. So if this happened to you, has it happened before? What do you remember about it happening before? How are you feeling about it? How are you thinking about it? And really allowing him to be him and to share what that moment was like for him, without having to be the funny guy, but allowing him to be a human being who was a victim of a crime
Yeah.
in front of the whole world, who has a history of being bullied. And a lot of people don't realize that bullying is extremely traumatic. A lot of my clients have dealt with bullying in middle school and in high school, and people think, oh, it's over. No, that affects you for years because it's so shaming. It's so humiliating to have people laughing at you, and you feel like there's nothing you can do to protect yourself. And so I would make sure he understood that my place was safe, and that I'm not going to go and tell anyone anything that he said to me, but you're allowed to be a human with me. You're allowed to emote with me.
Gotcha. Darrell, how would you help Chris out?
Uh, Aisha got it down pat.
Yeah.
It is understanding that we're coming with humility. Our ability as clinicians is not to be the finger pointer, but to just to help them reason through that, rational through that. I use rational living therapy, which is one of the things that we do. We just try to help them rationalize that, but also help them understand that, hey, you can come out of this better, stronger, even better. And it's not even about the self-defense techniques or anything like that, but it's more about just understanding that we live in a world where people are now just being bold at doing stuff. Think about it. Who thought about people fighting on airplanes? When you're you're going to your
Happens all the
destination
time.
and someone's arguing and literally throwing blows on an airplane. We never. Who thought they bold enough now to call out and shoot and kill somebody going jogging? Minding his own business. They chase him down and kill him. So we're dealing with in an era where it's no longer hidden. These things that way people feel are coming out, and they demand to be heard when they share that stuff. And we have to be the ones to say, oh, we got to help you get past all this stuff. We got to help you, learn to process this and move forward.
Gotcha. So Aisha, let's before we start wrapping up, what do you think? What would you do to help Will? I want to shift it back to Will.
I put him in jail for a couple of days. Let him think about what he did. Maybe just one night. Well, I take that back because I don't want any more black men in jail. But
I don't either.
I do think he should pay some money to, if not to Chris Rock, donate some money to some place that helps people go through what he just put Chris Rock through. I'll say it that way. If he really wants to show that, because he had that little sorry apology in his
that was written
speech.
for him.
Right, yeah, and then he apologized on Instagram after Chris Rock apologized on Instagram. But I would really work with him through what do you think you can really do to fix this situation and then fix yourself, if he's even willing to admit that. I mean, genuinely admit that he did something wrong.
True.
Yeah, because ultimately he needs to make a decision. What type of man is he going to be?
Yes.
At 53.
Yeah.
In his 50s.
I would ask that question. Is this the man that you've been trying to be for 53 years? Are you proud of this? Do you have any regrets?
Get out. Like I saw someone post in the comments that Will Smith is like the people on the movie Get Out. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
I saw that.
Jada is the abuser. But
Yeah.
that's a whole other show.
So Darrell and Aisha, what final word would you have for Will Smith here if you had an opportunity, perhaps just to talk to him in a few minutes?
Darrell, that's your cup of tea. You go on, because I don't treat.
You're like, you don't have anything to say to Will.
You go and handle that. I don't.
You threw it, Will.
I struggled through it, but I hear what you're saying.
First of all, I'll probably take him out on the golf course and try to talk to him. No, I just find play with you. No, seriously. It is a episode of What Were You Thinking? Help me understand how you got to this level. What were the missteps or miscues that you didn't catch? Because we have to go back and find those and begin to start processing what it was. What are those triggers? Because there was a trigger somewhere to trigger him to do that. Whether it's the the look from Jada, whether it's the shoot, I got to defend my honor, whether it's I need to be burly, whatever that trigger was, we got to figure that out and begin to say one of these things, it can't happen. Now, the thing that Denzel said, okay, once you get to a certain level, the devil's going to do this stuff like that. Now, that's a okay statement, but the problem was that he was talking to a devilish person.
I was going to ask that was Chris the devil?
That's the whole. So that's
was
the whole
the devil
thing.
in Will?
Is Jada the devil?
Or perhaps it was Jada.
It was a devilish act. So we shut that down.
I hear you.
So you can't use those terms and make it seem like, oh, poor Will. No, the fact of the matter is that this thing's been going on. He's been chipped away.
I agree.
And like if I say myself, if a woman tells another woman on national television that I make love like a woman, we definitely have a problem somewhere where I'm either going to be out of that relationship because there's too many other single women out in Hollywood that might not think of me that way. I would roll because it's just but you want to stay in that. There's a need. There's a codependency for that. So somehow he's codependent on something that she's doing to let him to stay in that. So that's what I would look at. So there's got to be some factors in that.
Gotcha. So very quickly, Aisha, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Yes. So because he's a perpetrator of violence, individual therapy is not appropriate. he needs to be held accountable first for the violent act that he committed. So no, I'm not doing therapy with you because therapy is inappropriate. It's inappropriate. You need to be held accountable. He shows no remorse for what he did. So what is therapy supposed to do? And for a millionaire to donate money, what does that mean? What does it mean for a millionaire to pay a fine? It means nothing. It means nothing. You know what's going to bother him when people cancel Will Smith, stop going to a show, stop watching that stupid Red Table Talk, and then that's going to have an impact. But nothing is going to change about his behavior because he is a 53-year-old man that has believed this and lived this type of entitlement for decades. It's not going to change.
Yeah. Well, like I said, and I agree. I kind of differ a little bit because, like I said, well, that's NFL athletes. That's any athlete. Because myself, I work with student athletes, I work with collegiate athletes, and that's the same thing. They've been said yes to all their lives till they get up to a point where someone says no, and they snap. So we have to work back on that to get them to understand that these things will happen, and this is part of life. So we got to transition. So I do hear you, but we agree to disagree because there is ways to make it happen. And like I said, hold them accountable. That's true. That's the beginning, start the phases of process of getting that together. But there's no one totally out of the way. You can still get them.
So thank you, Darrell. I even asked, did he snap or did he evolve into what we saw Sunday night? But we're going to have to end it there. Guys, I have enjoyed this conversation with you guys. Glad you came on to provide a clinical perspective on things. And I just want to remind the audience, none of us know Will, Jada, or Chris Rock, but we are clinicians and, we have some opinions and attach them to some clinical therapy philosophies that are out there. So I really enjoyed this particular show. Aishia, you want to take us out?
Yes, if you are looking for us, check us out at twotherapist.com, our Facebook page. Just search for Two Therapists and a Mic. We're also on Instagram and Twitter, but you can find that on the website. And thank you for coming.
Absolutely. And Darrell, where can the audience find you if they want to contact you?
Check it out. They can check me out on ThriveWorks, Smyrna, Georgia. That's where I work with ThriveWorks, Smyrna, Georgia. And also, they can look at me on my YouTube channel, The Brotherhood of Mental Health. We do a couple little podcasts, video casting and stuff like that too.
All right. Aishia, where can the public find you?
My Therapist Life on Instagram as well as on TikTok.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We have really enjoyed it. And we will see you guys next Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Take care.
Peace.
like this.